Hey everybody, welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, I showed up in blue, you showed up in blue. How are you doing?
Couple of blue boys. I'm good. I'm good. Happy to be back after a quick spring break, and yeah, it's going well. I'm
Anything going on this evening, or what's your excuse for looking this good?
you know just when you just have a natural glow, you just look good all the time. You don't need a special occasion. You just look good. That's me. My wife,
Maybe you
even
misunderstood
Jason.
me. I'm saying you look way better than normal.
Oh,
So that would, by definition, mean you look like dog
it's
garbage. Dog
yeah.
garbage. No, I'm kidding, Chris. You look
It's
good. What's
it's
going on?
it's
You got a
it's the
date night or
facial.
something?
It's the facial hair.
Okay.
You notice? I'm growing this
Oh, we all
back.
noticed. Yeah, we all
Yeah,
noticed.
I like it, and I decided to bring it
How
back.
many how
So
many days are you going on there?
this is yeah,
40?
this is like 2 weeks
Okay,
of
14.
facial hair. So it's
You
you
gonna
can
go
see it
farther?
now.
You gonna do the full
Yeah,
thing?
yeah. I did this a year ago, and I kind of liked it, and I shaved it off. And I don't know, that's cyclical, in and out. I just try it.
Any
That's where
potted
I'm at.
plants or gifts you want to talk about? With
Oh
you,
yeah, yeah.
you said something about your wife.
But yeah. My wife brought me a gift. She's just great. She's great.
Today?
Yeah, today she got back from the grocery store, where she belongs, and
Mm.
she brought me a whole bunch of different wheat beers, a collection of wheat beers. You know,
Oh yeah, you want to crack one for the show? Loosen up a little bit.
no, no,
Okay,
no. It's not 2020 anymore. That was
okay.
drinking on air. That was a 2020 thing. That was a rough year.
Yeah, it was. Well, today we're talking about an interesting topic. I was out at a steakhouse last night with my girlfriend,
Oh,
and we ran into my wife, and she was
oh,
there with
yeah. Did
apparently
she
her
join you
boyfriend.
or?
She was there
Oh,
with apparently a significant other, an other
yeah.
significant other. And I was like, "You're out of line. What is going on?"
Yeah, that's
And she
inappropriate.
was like, "Don't worry, honey. I found a close variant." And sometimes, Chris, that's how I feel when I look at
Yeah,
my search terms report and I go,
cheating.
"Why did I show up on that? Why did I bring this to the party?"
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a close variant. Is
Yeah.
it really? We'll find out. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. What are close variant keywords? Um, Chris, this is something we don't talk a lot about. We have not brought it up a lot, but I'm scrolling through a search terms report right now, and a significant amount of the keywords or search terms that I'm getting here on this report are close variants,
Yeah,
and
they
even the
are.
ones, yeah. So it's definitely something you want to be aware of.
Yeah, yeah, and that's that. I think it's a timely topic because close variant is more like normal variant at this point. It's almost become the standard. So let's talk about what close variant means. Let's give it some definitions. Let's help you understand what a close variant is. But before we jump into it, I have to remind you why we're here. We're here because our wonderful sponsor helps us to bring this content to you. It is optio.com/PSP. This is a amazing software that you access. You don't download it onto your computer or anything. It's a web tool. It's, if you remember the old days, Web 2.0, you log into this amazing web tool that does a very specific task for you. This is the kind of stuff that doesn't try and do things that you don't need. It is a select tool belt of tools that help the Google Ads manager, whether you are a Google Ads manager to the stars. I mean, you're managing hundreds and hundreds of accounts. You have a whole agency, and you need help with scale on this management task, or you're just getting started and you just want to make sure that the job you do for your very important, 3, 4, 5, 6 clients is the best you can do. This tool is for you. We talk about it on this show because if you listen to this show and want to learn more about Google Ads, then you're the kind of person that's going to utilize the tool like Optio has built. It is Optio, that's opteo.com/PSP, to get a free 8-week trial of this amazing tool. That's 2 months for free. Try it out. You're going to like it. Let them know you've heard about it on the Paid Search Podcast.
Okay, thanks, Chris. So yeah, close variants. There's a great scene in Casino where Robert De
Oh,
Niro's trying to get Sharon Stone's attention, and he's trying to bring her back to earth here. And he go, "Where are you? Where are you right now? Where are you when you find close variant keywords?" Um, the place I see them is in, or search terms. The place I see them is in the search terms report. It'll
yeah,
show you your match type column. Phrase, did this search term come from a phrase match, an exact match, or a broad match? And they also have two other options there: phrase match close variant or exact match close variant. That's where I've interacted with these close variant keywords or search terms, whatever you want to call them. Chris, is this also where you have interacted with them?
yeah. I mean, this is the only place to understand, at least 60% of what Google defines in practice, defining what close variant is. We're going to go through the rules, the written rules of what Google says defines a close variant keyword. But the fact is that if you want to see it in real life and see it in practice, it's a close variant search term. So I'm calling it, by the way, I'm calling it a close variant keyword because that way people that don't know what close variant means, they're gonna be more interested in listening and understanding, because I understand fully well that it's a close variant search term, but the result is that the keyword attaches in a close variant way.
Yeah, I guess we see them as search terms, but on Google's official language, they don't even give them an identity. They're just so tied to the keyword. They call them keyword close variants. So it's like these are close variants of the keywords, and you see them as search terms. So that's where we see them. Um, we'll talk about kind of the definition of what can qualify as a close variant and get you to show up on these searches. Before we dig into that, Chris, would you just say that like close variants, keywords, close variants, you did not think about these before like a year or two ago, and as Google has become more open, especially with phrase match, now these things they make sense that we're seeing these now given the current environment we're working in? Is this a very now kind of tool with inside of Google Ads as opposed to a few years ago?
Yeah, yeah. I mean the Jason. I mean, I hate to talk about the old days too much, but I think it's a good contrast with where we are now. In the old days, there was actually a button in your settings where you could turn off close variant matching for phrase and exact. There was a way to do that. You could just turn it off. You could say, "Oh,
Wow.
this campaign is very important that that Google does not go outside of the bounds of my phrase and exact keywords. I want to be very precise. You can set that up and turn that off." Now there is no setting. Now it is the nature of a keyword to be close variant if they are phrase or exact. Now, the important thing is we're not talking about broad in this episode, because the fact is there is no broad close variant. A broad by nature doesn't close variant anything. It just matches to whatever the heck it thinks it is going to match best to. There is no broad close variant because there's no close variant to a broad. A broad just does what it does, and it gets clicks in the typical matching fashion that it was designed for. So when we're talking this whole episode, we're talking about phrase and exact. That's why we don't bring up broad at all from here forward, is just because broad is in a completely different category.
Okay, and just to define this a little for people before we go through the ways something could show up as a close variant, they basically we're reading. We have some information from Google here, and we'll link to it in the description, a help document. Close variants allow keywords to match to searches that are similar but not identical to the targeted keyword, and help you connect with people who are looking for your business despite slight variations in the way they search. That's going to be something we talk about with the phrase match
Yeah.
variants, whether or not they're so slight. It kind of depends on your point of view here. But the point of these is to reduce the need to build out exhaustive keyword lists to reach these customers. So, Chris, all in all, I know some people get frustrated with close variants sometimes, especially I've been looking at some examples before the show. Phrase match variants sometimes can be way off. Sometimes, that said, it doesn't take much to add some proper negative keywords in there, and then you can get the benefits of a close variant with some protection there. All in all, do you like that these things exist and that you have to use them and there's no way to opt out of them, given that you can do the lazy man build and throw in a few keywords and start a campaign and start getting traffic and then start doing good for your advertisers? Do you think the positives outweigh the negatives here?
Yes, I do.
I do
I mean
too.
that it
I do too.
it hurts to say that, and in reality I would prefer that old checkbox to be able to turn it on and off, just to see what happens. I'd love to do that. Like, let me try. Wait, no close variants, for just like, let me try it. I'd love to be able to do that, but the fact is that we don't have that anymore. So now if I had an option to whether permanently have it off or permanently have it on, I would rather have it on all the time.
Yeah, because if I'm running like a $10,000 a day B2B national advertiser and it's an industry I have not worked in before and they have not advertised on Google before, I'd much rather be in a spot with close variants where I can put in some keywords that I think the searches are going to be. Okay, I'm off by a few words, I'm learning the industry, but Google understands what I'm trying to get at 50% of the way there, 70% of the way there. They show me on some close variants, phrase match. I start to see some search terms coming in. I start to get some data coming in. And then once I see those search terms, I can figure out, oh, these are the money keywords. These are the keywords we have to target, as opposed to messing up, getting the wrong one or two keywords in there, not knowing the industry as well as you can 6 months, a year later, and just being off and not getting any volume for 2 weeks and thinking, is it your bid? Is it your settings? And running in circles. So I think definitely the ability to see more and more different searches that customers are doing and find those money searches. And on the bad searches you don't like, you can always just block them. I think that totally outweighs the negatives of some searches you don't want. By default, they all match the close variants and there's no way to opt out. So Chris, why don't you start us off here with the rules that can allow a search to qualify as a close variant to your keyword. And I guess we should just note that these 6 rules or qualifiers apply both to phrase match and exact match keywords.
Yeah. This is universal for both, with very slight differences. So to just save time, we'll just talk about them in one entity. So there are 6, as you said, Jason. The first one is words with closely related syntax. Now, Jason, as you know, I went to public school, so you got to help me out here.
Through 8th grade, though.
Yeah, I mean it got pretty tough after that. So syntax. What?
I think it's the arrangement of words and phrases to create well-formed sentences in language.
Wow, that brain.
A set of rules for an analysis, the arrangement of words and phrases to create well-formed sentences. So let's read this. Words with closely related syntax. Can't we just say like the meaning of what the search was, or or it's what they're saying here is they could mean misspell. So I guess it's not the meaning. It's misspellings, singular and plural. Do I need plural keywords? Do I need only singular with the plural? Well, that question is answered no. They'll show you on plural. Stemmings, so floor could come from flooring, and abbreviations and accents. So I guess this would just be the grammatical stuff. That's an easier word to understand than syntax.
I think of it as the technical part, right?
Yeah.
This is one of the more simpler things. This is the thing that you could get behind very easily and say, okay, sure. Yeah, fine. Closely related to syntax differences. Okay, sure. Floor, flooring. All right. Abbreviations, stemmings. Okay. Google understands some basic human language, no matter the language. By the way, this is an all language rule. It applies, and great. That seems very that
good.
Seems very
good for
safe.
Us. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good for everybody. So for like advertisers, we don't have to have every single version of the keyword. If someone misspells it, we can still show up and get that business. For the search users, they can connect with good businesses that are advertising, whether or not they spell the word wrong or use a word that's
And
the
and this
stem
is
of another word.
and this is why, because people ask me this all the time. Should I add misspellings? People misspell our brand all the time. Should I add misspellings of some of my keywords? The fact is that no. This
You don't have
entire
to.
close variant system is designed to reduce the need to build out exhaustive keyword lists to reach your customers.
And whatever benefit you're getting from that, it's totally being overshadowed by the negative of your click data being spread across multiple
Yes,
keywords. And so
yes,
that conversion data, that click-through rate data, it's being
it's
spread out and watered
yep.
down across many, many keywords, as opposed to, oh, this one keyword, basketball shoes, Oklahoma City, converts at this rate, whether or not they search basketball shoe, Oklahoma City, basketball shoes, OKC, basketball shoes near me, like,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe that's meaning. But like, as far as the grammar stuff, you get all the benefit of showing up when someone is trying. I would say when they're attempting to search your keyword, not the meaning that's later on in this list, but when they're attempting to search your keyword and they get the grammar wrong, Google's enough to they're good enough to figure that out and show your ad, so you can center that data on a limited amount of keywords and make good decisions.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm good with this one. First one starts off pretty light, and then we get into rule number 2. So rule number 2: reordered words with the same meaning. Now, I like that this rule doesn't just say reordered words. It says reordered words with the same meaning. So again, this is the Google algorithm looking at the intent. So we have to get over the fact that a computer is somehow reading English or any language and understanding intent behind what we search. So it's a little freaky, a little weird. There's of course always going to be some things that go wrong here, but as much as it can get it right, it's saying, yeah, when someone types shoes men, they could also mean the same thing. They say men's shoes, and that's fine. A lot of people add those additional attributes when they type the core word, just like when they add the word near me or stuff at the end. That's it. All kind of means the
Yeah, and
same thing.
everyone thinks they're like a power search user, and everyone thinks they search the right keywords. But like after this steakhouse event with my girlfriend, my wife's boyfriend, and they ended up staying together. The boyfriend and the girlfriend
Oh,
liked
that's
each
good.
other enough, and we just left them there. I picked up the tit or the check,
Such a gentleman.
gentlemen,
Such a gentleman.
and then
Yeah.
we went home, and we made up, and we decided to renew our vows, and we're looking at
Oh,
places to vacation this summer as a little kind of second honeymoon.
yeah.
And my wife was kind of hovering over me while I was doing searches, like over and over, looking places to stay here, places to stay there, car rental there. It was disgusting how crazy I seemed when I was doing those searches, like how many typos, and I just hit enter because I know it's going to work. How many, like, I'm sick of searching like so and so city car rental, so I just start searching car rental and then the city, like all this stuff we're talking about. It's not just me, like everybody does this stuff all the time, like
Yeah.
all the time, and we've all gotten worse at it because we know Google's going to fix it for us when we
Yeah.
hit
It's
enter.
if you misspell it, they're like, "Oh, you mean this? Gotcha. No problem."
So I'm just
So
going to search like podcast. So there it is. I was looking at you, just typing things, trying to get it wrong. I was going to search podcast equipment. I ended up with, and to see how quickly it would point me in the right direction, I ended up typing in PODCAT, podcat. That's kind of what
yeah.
Chris
Yeah.
tells people he does for a living when they ask him. They go, "What do you do?" Yeah, I'm a podcat,
Podcat.
and podcat EW
Yeah.
and podcat OO,
Uh-huh.
which is what I typed in the bar before even pressing enter. The first suggested search there is podcast equipment.
There you go.
So Google knows. They know everything
Yeah,
about
even
you,
before you
including
do the
your typos.
search.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
the important thing. They understood intent before you, and that's the Google Suggest feature, which has
So
been around for about 10 years now, I think. And so not only do they
yep.
understand the search, but they understand the intent simply because they know W is right next to Q. You probably meant to hit Q, and it's common.
And I just gave it a little more information here. I typed in podcat EWQIP, podcast equip. Of course, it says showing results for podcast equipment.
Yeah.
And I see paid ads for people who are trying to advertise
There
on
you go.
podcast equipment. So again, it's good for everybody. You show up on, you get in front of more people who are looking for exactly what you offer. Google makes more money. Customers get connected with more advertisers. It's all good so far. let's go to number 3, Chris.
And that leads us perfectly into the third option here, which is removing function words. Now, again, public school, so help me here. Apparently there are things such as a preposition and a conjunction and articles. I'm sure that's a real thing, but the fact is, there can be some of these core parts of the word that can be removed, like equipment for podcast, and they take out the word for, and podcast equipment. It doesn't have to say equipment for podcast. It can mean the same thing. You can reorder now and remove some of these function keywords. Now we're starting to combine some of these terms to see that your phrase match keyword, equipment for podcast, could now match for podcast equipment. That would be a phrase match close variant. And now you know why that happened, is because it applied to situations. It reordered the words and it removed a function term, a function word from that search.
That's pretty smart. I like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty smart. And so far through 3, we're all just getting shown on searches that are the kind of searches we're trying to show up on. It's good.
Yeah. I feel so far, the first 3 I'm comfortable with. And if you can't smell the foreshadowing here, as we start pushing into number 4, 5, and 6, maybe a little bit of a uneven ground, a little more shaky, a little more scary, a little more black magic box, like we talk about, like what's happening in the magic box here. I can't see what's happening. It's a little mysterious. But before we jump in, I want to remind you, please, if you want to take Google Ads further, if you want to do more with Google Ads, optio.com/PSP is the tool for you. It is 100% free for you to try this tool. You can very simply sign up at the link in the description of this podcast, optio.com/PSP. Get a 2-month free trial. I cannot tell you how many people contact me, talk to me all the time, and say, of course I'm using Optio. Now help me with this other stuff. Optio is a standard. For the kind of people that listen to this show, it is not just an add-on, it is a standard. It is an everyday tool. I use it. Jason uses it. Many of our listeners use it. You should try it as well.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Now let's get to number 4 here, which is implied words. That's kind of a weird term there, kind of knowing what you're wanting to search without searching it. So what's an implied word? Yeah,
it sounds like something my wife is going to yell at me about. Like, I know what you're implying. I know what you're like. Wait. Did you just try and read my mind? Did you try and understand something based on my tone or the way I said it or the way I flailed my hands around when I said it? Like, it's really kind of creepy and kind of weird that Google would use the word implied. What do you mean by that? And if I'm just using text to do a search, there is no facial expression. There's no tone. There's nothing that, would be implied based on emotions or the way I speak it, but instead is just the word. So, okay. All right. So implied words. And an example that we might say is, there's these VR headset things, and one of the examples it uses is it says, if you have the exact match Daydream VR headset and someone searches for Daydream headset, then it would still show you for Daydream VR headset because the VR is implied. Google is taking the information that it has to know that Daydream is a VR headset. This is product information, and then implying, they mean the VR headset. And even though it's exact match, it's going to remove the need for that middle term, that VR term. This seems okay in this example. But Jason, they take some liberties sometimes on these close variants and just eliminate some terms that could be critically important to the original keyword if it's exact or phrased or something like that.
Yeah, and you just kind of have to judge it on a keyword by keyword basis. Even this example of like the Dream VR headset or Daydream VR headset, that's like I guess maybe that's like a branded term if Daydream is a VR
product
brand
name or something. Yeah.
So that kind of leads you to question like, okay, if I have the keyword barbecue restaurants open um, on Sunday as my keyword, and then they show you. Would they show you on the search barbecue restaurants open? So it does implied mean that like it only is when the word is in the middle of the term, or can it be
Right.
when something is implied on the end and dropped off? Short answer is like I don't really know.
Yeah.
And so you kind of just have to look at the search terms that you can see and look at the variants on exact and phrase and see if there's anything you don't like in there. But this is where it kind of gets very opened up, and we lose the ability to say, hey, this is the exact kind of searches you'll show up on as variants. We won't really know until we start seeing some variants
Yeah.
for the implied
This
stuff.
yeah, this is the kind of thing where you like as we said, the top 3 pretty black and white, Okay, got it. Function words, reordering words, misspelling, singular, plural, stuff like that. But now suddenly implied. Okay, so we go a little bit further and we step further down into this list, and now we're getting into things like synonyms and paraphrase. So the example that they give is if your exact match keyword, and this is exact match, by the way, so the most critically targeted type of match type there is. So if your exact match keyword is bathing suits, and ads may show also on searches for swimming suits. So this is a synonym and slash paraphrase example. So the synonym there is bathing and swimming.
Mm.
It when in their examples it sounds very rational, but
Yeah, it sounds very
again,
fine for bathing in swimming suits.
yeah. But then again, if you are, and this hurts the most, honestly, when you're in an industry that is very critical in the way that people say certain things, and these synonyms can absolutely blindside you, and you not realize that you're getting something that is, just completely.
Lawn care and landscaping.
There you go.
No, we don't mow your lawn for
Right.
$40. We do $8,000 and up
Right. There you go.
commercial landscaping jobs.
Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good
So
example.
it's not the end of
So,
the world. You add
yeah.
lawn care as a negative
The
keyword, but you
the
have to expect that you might see it in there.
yeah. The good news is there's a solution here. Negative keywords can go a long way, but when you start, if you don't check your account, if you don't look at your search terms and just assume that keywords get what keywords say they're going to get, no, there's a whole back end system going here, and you can get the wrong kind of stuff here. So, last one, Jason, you want to take this one?
Yeah, same search intent. So it says your exact match keyword is images royalty free may also show on searches for free copyright images. So same search intent. So basically this is kind of like a umbrella to all these earlier
Yeah.
variant options, but it's just taking a step further saying we don't really have to give you a reason. If we
Yeah.
think they have the same search intent, we're going to show you.
Yeah. And this is, we talked about implied, okay, but now intent. Not only did what you implied, but also what you meant by that and the meaning behind it and,
Yeah.
and your whole intent. This goes the furthest, So
Yeah.
if 1 through 5 doesn't cover the reason why something would match number 6, as you said, Jason, it covers it all. Because in the example, it's a different word order. There's different words. It goes from royalty to, in the original keyword to not having the word royalty at all, and it changes it for the word copyright, and it's a completely different order of the terms here. And I'm let's look at this example that it has here in the document. It says images royalty free. Obviously, this person is looking for something they can use on their blog or use in a presentation or something, a video. But then the one they match it to, and maybe I'm dumb here, but what even does the search free copyright images? What does that search even mean? Like that? What?
I was thrown off by it too, thinking, I don't know that images
a
royalty free means the same thing as free copyright.
yeah. That's such a
So yeah, we're in the
strange,
same boat.
and it's such a perfect example of like looking at something and going, what? Well, those are all words that I'd want to advertise for, but that doesn't seem like it was typed by a human. I mean, like what are you looking for? This questionable gray area is where you end up on rule number 6. You end up on some stuff where you're like, well, I don't have this keyword. Is this something I want to target? Is it not? And that's where it comes from. It comes from same search intent. It's basically the the Google system reading, quote unquote, a person's mind, and saying, yeah, this is what you meant.
And that's basically all the information we have. So
That's
again,
it.
what could
Yeah.
that show you on? We don't really know, because where my mind goes, if someone has done a search like all weekend long, movers in Houston, Houston moving companies, movers near me, and then on like their 40th search, they just type in movers. Could my phrase match or exact match moving companies in Houston keyword show on the search movers as a close variant, because Google knows that their intent is not movers in a music video or some branded toy named movers or something, but actual
Yeah.
looking for a mover in their city to hire. They know their intent at that point, so they could show you. I don't know. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say it could probably be that different in terms of like moving companies in Houston than just the word movers.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to look at your search terms report, which I guess, Chris, we can close the show on this, but how do you kind of account for these variants in day-to-day management? How does it impact your management?
Yeah. It all comes down to this. I find a balance between what the system allows and what I allow. I have the final say in how far this close variant system is allowed to go. And I draw the line and I decide, nope, I don't like that. I'm going to block that. And using negative keywords is how you do it. You look at your search terms report, you look at it on a regular basis, you keep an eye on it, and that is how you manage where Google draws the line and where your money is actually spent.
Yeah, and what I find helpful is filtering for all four types of search terms. So filter, you click on filter, then you go to match, you can type in match type, and then you can look at, or all five, you can look at broad, exact, phrase. But I really lately have found a big difference between exact match close variants and phrase match close variants. And phrase match sometimes are very fruitful. The phrase match close variants, where you can find some great keyword ideas that were words that have never been found in your Google Ads account as a keyword. And you're like, oh, we should be
Yeah.
targeting that. But
Yeah.
also at the same time, it can take the meaning, and it's not that it's trying to do this intentionally. It's just not caught up to a human level yet. But you have a keyword in there that's like maybe only 3 words, phrase match, and it's like trying to show up for people looking for a specific service. And then the search that they show you on um, has to do with the definition, or it has to do with that service in that industry, but not that service. It's got to do with some kind of topic with that insurance. It's just you'll see it when you look in your account, but definitely makes you get some activity in there with negative keywords. But at the same time, you can show on a lot of searches that you did not have in there yet and benefit from those. The one impact it has, other than like, oh, you look at your search terms and negative keywords, Chris, is sometimes waving the white flag on number of ad groups and landing page work. I've had some talks with clients recently where they said, hey, we see searches coming in for this, searches coming in for that. Should we get a new landing page made up? Should we put this in a different ad group? I've had the conversation with them like, no, let me continue to benefit from have your account benefit from me bidding at the ad group level, so we have that high level data to make good decisions on. Because guess what? A year ago, when we were trying to show on this word in this ad group with that landing page, the other word in this other ad group with that
Mm-hmm.
other landing page, they're showing us on like the inverse, like
Yep.
for these keywords, they're showing us on searches that have to do with those other keywords because
Mm-hmm.
of the variance. And yes, you can add negative keywords, Chris, but why don't you speak to how hairy it can get, where
Yeah.
your negative keywords end up being the exact searches you want to show up on? And
Yeah.
how do you add those negative keywords without, there's like maybe 30 different ways someone could search for this, where you have to add all 30 versions. And it's just a continual game of catch up. So do you find yourself kind of waving the white flag sometimes on number of ad groups, different landing pages, and trying to fight that uphill battle?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Basically, I boil it down to this: complexity breeds more problems in Google Ads, and that goes from building the campaign out from
Yeah.
from the start with highly complex, very specific ad groups, and then, as you said, getting into negative keywords at the ad group level and saying, no, this is only the ad group for dentist, and this is only the ad group for orthodontist, and don't even think about the fact that sometimes you might get close variants in different ways where it's maybe some terms are swapped around and they match better some ways. Complexity leads to all kinds of problems, and I absolutely allow the system the leniency that it needs in order to match me to the things that I need to match for. And sometimes it doesn't go quite into the funnel that I was expecting. But you know what? I'm not going to try and undercut the system to force it to go through the system that I think it should be doing, because sometimes reverse engineering this the way I want it can cripple the entire system.
Yeah, if that's the conversation you're having, like trying to force different searches into different ad groups as opposed to the conversation of what are my leads worth, lifetime value, what are they costing me, knowing your true return, it's just a failing as an advertiser.
Yep.
So it's not a fruitful conversation. But Chris, this was a fruitful conversation.
Yes, it was. It was. We learned a lot about close variants. I learned a lot about you and your growing love for your wife. I'm so glad that things are working
Renewed.
out.
Renewed.
Renewed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Renewed.
That'll be a
We all
special
make
trip.
mistakes. Just thought I was gonna have a good time at that steakhouse. Little I sit down and
Yeah.
the
You realize.
scenery looked familiar. But it's gonna look familiar next week when we're back here, Chris. And I want everyone to send us your questions at paidsearchpodcast.com. Got a lot of good questions, Chris, lately. And I know you're putting those together.
Yes, I am.
And
I read them
we'll
all.
probably have a Q&A coming up soon.
Sounds good. Yeah, absolutely. And if you would like to reach out to me, I am available at chrisschaefer.com. I believe it's in the description if Jason still allows me to put it in.
Oh, yeah, it's in there. And I'll be in Adelaide for a book signing March in early May. So you can sign up for that. So thanks, everybody, and we will see you next week.